Living Power with Dan Hurst.
Misuse is jumping to conclusions about words, actions, and motives. Now that is a trait. They jump to conclusions, and oftentimes they're the right ones, but sometimes they just jump to conclusions without having all of the facts. And just like when Jesus was washing Peter's feet, Peter just jumped to conclusions. Oh, no, you're not going to do this. He didn't have all the facts. He jumped to conclusions. The third misuse is reinforcing a condemning spirit. In other words, looking for ways to prove themselves right about somebody that they've condemned. Oh yeah, see, I knew it. See, they went and did that. That just proves what I thought all along. They're squirrels. And you just look for you reinforce a condemning spirit. That's a misuse of the gift of prophecy. The fourth character of misuse is judging and exposing an offender rather than restoring an offender. I'm really good about passing judgment on people and condemning them and sentencing them before they've even had a trial. I'm so good at that. Just ask Marcia. That's a misuse of that. There's just a tendency to just be judge, jury, and enforcer all at the same time. That is that idea of judging and exposing an offender rather than restoring the offender. The fifth misuse is cutting off a person who has failed. Somebody who, now listen, this is very important. I'm not talking about somebody who has sinned, but talking about somebody who has failed. Now you may combine the two. Sometimes they are one and the same. But generally a person who has the gift of prophecy looks at somebody who has set some goals and they've tried to do something and then they failed. And the person, the misuse of the gift is that they just sort of like, this person's a loser. This person doesn't have it together. Until they get it together, I don't want to have anything to do with that person. And it was Peter, if you recall, in Matthew 18, verse 21, who came to Jesus and said, Lord, how many times should I forgive my brother when he sins against me? Like, how many times do I have to keep doing this? And Jesus said, you need to keep doing it until it's taken care of. So there's this tendency to cut off somebody who has failed. The sixth misuse is dwelling on the negative rather than the positive. Believe it or not, the misuse of the gift of prophecy is somebody who can become very negative. They just become brutally negative sometimes. Another misuse is the lack of cautiousness and tactfulness in expressing opinions. I don't like this one. But it's there. It's a misuse. And here's the perfect example. Remember when Jesus was arrested? John 18:10. Then Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it and stuck the high priest's servant, cutting off his right ear. That was the dumbest thing that you could have done at that point. Like, I'll defend you, Jesus. I'll cut off a guy's ear. Well, that'll do it. It's just this lack of cautiousness and tactfulness. An eighth misuse is demanding a positive response to a harsh rebuke. Being harsh and then expecting somebody to respond positively. This was very, very difficult for me when I was raising my children. I had a tendency to become very harsh on them. I wanted to brutalize them, with words, and I could just cut them to the quick. And then when they didn't respond positively, I was like, what's wrong with you? Didn't I just whoop you, verbally? You should have responded positively. That's a misuse. That's a misuse of that gift. And then the ninth misuse is condemning themselves when they fail. A person who misuses their gift of prophecy is a person who will absolutely brutalize themselves. There is nobody that will beat themselves up more than a person who has the gift of prophecy when they're misusing their gift. And then the 10th misuse is accusing others of deception if they don't fully reveal their faults. That's a misuse. All right, you didn't come clean. You're not completely transparent. Come on, you're being dishonest. And that's a misuse because it's really none of their business.